Hi, welcome to the next module. I am so excited that you're here with us. We are going to dive really deep into discovering what and who your authentic self is and who you're not. And this is in preparation for helping you to prepare to soar with purpose. So we first have to dive deep into who we are. And this means we need to take a look back. So there's not a one-size-fits-all plan into this is your purpose. We need to understand who you are, how you were made, and what all of this history has prepared you for up to this point. So I'm going to jump right into sharing my slides. And with this, you have a workbook that accompanies this video. So in your classroom, go ahead and look for the workbook. You can either download it, print it, and do a hard copy, or you can have an electronic version that you can do right there on your computer. So, preparing to soar with purpose. Okay. In this module, I want you to take 2 assessments. One will be at giftstest.com. This is a free assessment, and it gives you an idea of what your natural God-given gifts are. So we're looking for if you're naturally inclined to, for example, be more analytical, or you're naturally inclined to be more social. There could be a difference. Anyway, this will give you an idea with that. Then StrengthsFinder is a test that you have to pay for. Now, I would like for you to pay for the actual full test, which is right around $50. But this will give you 34 strengths from top to bottom of what you are good at. Now, the top strengths are your best. And so we're looking for the top 5 strengths. But when you look at these, I want you to consider what is the good and what is the bad of this strength. So as an example, responsibility is one of my top strengths. Now that's a good strength to have, right? Because I follow through, I get things done, people can count on me. But there's also a bad part to responsibility in that I always feel obligated to do things. I always take that initial response of, I'll do it. I'm the type of person that takes on more than I should. So I've had to learn to set up boundaries to protect my time, especially because I can find myself in a trap very quickly that I've taken on too much, and all of a sudden I don't have time to do what I said I was going to do. But the responsibility part kicks in. I still deliver what I said I was going to do. It just may mean a self-sacrifice that I'm working 20 hours a day. So this is something that it took me a long time to learn. And by taking this StrengthsFinder assessment, we can jump right into your top strengths and figure out the good and bad. But what we want to really focus on moving forward are all the great things that you can do. So when you take a look at the bottom strengths, this is why I want you to do the full 34. Let's say the bottom 5, those are not your top strengths. And so we need to figure out, how do we provide for that? Is it necessary? Can we do without those strengths? Or do we need to maybe include those types of strengths in your board of directors later? And we'll talk more about your personal board of directors in a different module. But the StrengthsFinder assessment is worth $50. It's going to give us a lot of information about you. And even if you've taken it in the past, it's always a good idea to get a fresh test, because as time changes, so do we. Okay, so those 2 tests will be in this workbook. The next thing is we're going to look at your education. In the past, you've done a lot of good things. So depending on your age, you've had some time on this earth, you've been to school, you've worked, you have a lot of experience. So we need to take a look at your education. And you'll write this down. We need to consider, are you currently working in a place that's using your education? Or maybe you earned a degree that you aren't even in the right field for anymore. And then spend some time thinking through that. Do you want to be back in that same field as your education? Did you find that there was passion and purpose in that education, but because of life, you've just ended up in a different industry? Who knows? But we can talk through that. The workbook will help you figure out how your education has played into who you are authentically. And then we'll take a look at your work history. So even though you may feel like you're in the wrong job, it doesn't matter at this point. You have a history of work, whether it's been 2 years or 20 years or 40 years, you have a history of work that has helped to shape you. This may be the type of work you do, the industry you're in, the people you work with, whether you've had good bosses or good experiences or bad experiences. All of this has helped to shape the person that you are today. So in your workbook, you'll see that I ask you to list all of your jobs and then spend some time reflecting what was good and what was bad, because at this point, we don't want to waste any more time. We want to figure out, what are we going to do in the future? And if you've already had a history in the past of things that you don't like and you don't want to repeat, we need to be very specific with that. So we're going to write that down. The next piece is your life experience. And this could come from a wide array of experiences. Perhaps you've had really good things in the past. Perhaps you've had bad things happen in the past. Regardless, it has all helped to shape who you are today. So if you took a timeline and laid it out, you could likely say, well, this happened when I was 5, and this happened when I was 10, and this happened when I went into middle school, and this happened when I went into high school. And these are some milestones, whether good or bad. They're still milestones in your life. Perhaps you've gone through divorce, you've had deaths in your family. Who knows? Each person has a different past, a different history. So I want you to spend some time thinking through that. And I understand that sometimes this can be hard. And I do empathize with you. But I have learned through this process that some of those hard times where we have endured pain and suffering, where we don't understand why we went through what we went through, later comes around in a different chapter of life to be something that we help other people with. So consider that. Consider that it's not that we were necessarily a victim, but maybe this has happened for a greater purpose and we can use it to help somebody else. Okay, so think about your life experiences. Then I want you to think about things in your life that have happened from childbirth up till now that have given you joy, bliss, this energy, this happiness, things that you would want to repeat. These are the events in your life that you can look back and have fond memories of. Events or experiences that you think, well, I could do this every single day. Or maybe you think, wow, I'm really good at that. I could keep doing it. And it doesn't feel like work. So those types of experiences, we're going to think through that and get those written down in your workbook. I also want you to think about those experiences that we don't want to think about anymore, that really just suck the energy right out of us. Maybe it was a painful experience. Maybe it frustrates you. It could be some type of work activity that you just can't understand. And that's okay, because that means that's not in your wheelhouse, and that's okay, right? We don't have to be good at everything. So think about all of these experiences that you do not want to repeat. And we need to be intentional in writing these down so that they don't sneak back up on us. Okay, then I want you to imagine. Imagine it's your 100th birthday. And this isn't that far of a stretch, actually. More and more people are living to this ripe age of 100. My uncle was 103 years old when he passed away in Alabama. It's happening. People are living to more than 100 years old. So I want you to think about being 100 years old. and at your birthday party, what are people saying about you? What have you accomplished? What have you contributed to, whether it's in the family, friendships, society, the community, the workplace, your church? What have you contributed? Have you been a role model? What sort of legacy have you built? Think through all of these scenarios, because I can tell you this helps to get us very clear and intentional on how we want to spend our time from this point forward. When we think about the outcome, the end, or much later in the future, where we're thinking about what I want the outcome to look like, what I want success to look like, and then how am I going to get there? So we're going to think about that. And overall, I want you to realize that this first step is critically important to helping you discover your purpose. We need to understand your full authentic self. So we're going to get deep in your inner self, in your core being. We're going to get a little dirty. You might cry through some of this, and that is completely okay. You might laugh, and you might smile. And in the end, we're going to write a mission statement. And I don't want you to think that it has to be perfect, because you can always change this. But I want you to start thinking about, what is your mission? How can you live on mission? And be very, very clear. So I have a couple of examples for you in the workbook. One of them is mine that I wrote, and I can tell you when I wrote it, I thought, okay, this might change. But the more that I have lived through my purpose, the more I am convinced that's the right mission for me. So, and this is the same process that I'm sending you through that I went through personally. The second mission statement that I'm giving you is from a dear friend of mine, Tyler. And I met Tyler years ago. He was a West Point graduate and a life coach. And I met him actually at a management training program. Later in life, we helped to coach his kids in softball, and just a wonderful person. But what happened was, I knew that Tyler was different. He seemed to be living on mission. He seemed to have this clarity about him that other people didn't. But I didn't know exactly why. We hadn't really had those conversations. Ours was more of a casual relationship. And then it was Valentine's Day many years ago. And he was outside cutting down a tree, and the tree fell on him and killed him. And it wasn't until I went to his funeral that I saw his mission statement on his funeral card. So you'll see that in the workbook. And it was so obvious to me at that point that he had already gone through this process that you're about to go through. He had dove deep into who he was authentically, and he had written his mission statement, and he was living on mission. And that's what I want for you. I want for people to notice that you have clarity, that you're different, that you're living on mission, that you have a goal in mind, and that you are intentionally spending your time wisely. So let's get started. Jump right into that workbook. And when you're finished, come out to the Facebook group and chat about what you have uncovered, what aha moment you might have had, or what your next steps are going to be, or share with us your mission statement. I'd love to see it.